Hong Kong, home to 7 million busy commuters traveling from destination to destination. Transportation is a key part of every Hong Kong citizen's day-to-day life. From buses and subway trains to trams and cabs, the public transport system of one of Asia's leading cities is highly integrated. However, none of these provide as deep historical and cultural roots to Hong Kong as the Star Ferry. The Star Ferry, established in 1898, is an integral part of the city. Before the Star Ferry, people would travel across the Victoria Harbour in sampans. Back then, Victoria Harbour was much more wider than it is today. Initially established as the Kowloon Ferry Company in 1888, a regular ferry service was provided to the public to and from a small pier at Pedder Street in Central. Less than 10 years later, the company had 4 operating systems: the Morning Star, Evening Star, Rising Star, and the Guiding Star, each with a capacity of about 100 passengers, and altogether made 147 crossings per day. A new ferry was built in 1912, still on Pedder Street. In 1933, the Star Ferry built the Electric Star, the first diesel-electric passenger ferry of its kind in the world. During the Japanese occupation of Hong Kong during the Second World War, the ferries were used by the Japanese for transportations of supplies, military, and prisoners. After the war, the Star Ferry routes were re-established and returned to their regular functions. The Edinburgh Place Ferry Pier was opened in 1957.
通常嗰陣時幾毫子啫嘛，5毫1蚊到啦。先生，即係我哋後生嗰陣時啊。即係你哋後生嗰陣時有一個好大嘅嗰個叫咩啊？即係你哋後生嗰陣時係曾經有一個唔知乜嘢事件嘅，就係因為天星小輪加價，所以就導致好多人反對呢一件事。哦，咁梗係啦，咁你無端端又要加價，咁樣梗唔係幾好啦，啱嘛？先生，你講一講當時你年輕嗰陣時咧，當天星小輪加價，好似加咗5毫子咁樣嗰陣時，究竟你有冇參加到？斗領咋？有，喺深水埗嘛。你有參加到嗰個反對事件？
In 1966, a 5-cent increase in fares, or 25% increase, sparked the 1966 Hong Kong riots. 27-year-old So Sao Chung went on a hunger strike at the pier and was subsequently arrested. He was served as inspiration to the other protesters.
我即係呢啲咧，即係我啲即係唔贊成加價咯，即係我哋冇咩團體嘅啫，即係人哋行我行啊呢啲咁嘅啫。即係你去舉下牌。啊，冇錯，唔係舉牌直情人行我行，即係冇組織嘅我哋嗰啲。係啊。
Despite the riot, which lasted 3 days, causing 3,000 arrests and $20 million in damage, the Star Ferry Company raised the fare. Until the Cross Harbor Tunnel opened in 1972, the Star Ferry remained the main means of public transportation between Hong Kong Island and Kowloon Side. The Edinburgh Place Ferry Pier was used by the Hong Kong Star Ferry from 1957 to 2006 as its pier on Hong Kong Island. The pier came with a major phase of land reclamation in Hong Kong during the 1950s and was to be situated adjacent to the new City Hall. The pier incorporated a clock tower whose chimes marked every quarter hour since the pier was opened. July 1999. Plans to replace the Star Ferry Pier and Queen's Pier commenced. What will be replacing the pier is a 6-lane road and a low-rise shopping center. An impact assessment for the Central Reclamation suggested the relocation of the Edinburgh Place Ferry Pier, receiving approval from the Antiques Advisory Board in 2002. Consultants who gave the 2001 Environmental Impact Assessment Report noted the pier's significance in Hong Kong's transport history. The government, however, maintained that the pier was not old enough to be considered historical, and that people weren't concerned about the building itself. As warned by the consultants, the decision made by the government to remove the pier led to a bitter struggle with conservationists, who were opposed to further reclamation of the harbor or the removal of historical buildings. The people's insurmountable sentimental value for this 49-year-old landmark was greatly underestimated by the Hong Kong government. On the 19th of November, 2006, many joined in protest against the demolishing of the pier. This includes the Democratic Party, the Hong Kong Institute of Architecture, and many more groups. Even So Sao Chung himself, who had now become a monk, came to support. The protest lasted for about a month, with 15 protesters detained by the police.
即係上嗰年搬遷碼頭，即係前年啦。我咁睇嘅，即係話咧，香港個中環碼頭咧，就即係記載咗香港好多集體回憶，留下好多往事。但係我咁睇嘅，即係新中環嘅碼頭咧就好靚，儘管以前好應該留戀都好啦，人咧就永遠都向前嘅。如果我哋舊嘅唔去咧，新嘅就唔嚟，人類咧咁樣咧冇向前發展㗎啦。所以咧，我好平常心、好客觀睇呢個問題，即係總嘅嚟講係好嘅。
嗱，如果個人嚟講，就對於清拆一個舊中環碼頭，就一定有一點無奈啦。咁但係回想翻嚟講咧，就係始終如果為香港嘅長遠利益嚟睇咧，就政府係有必要咧，係需要呢個填海地咧，就係興建嗰個中環灣仔嗰個繞道，去舒緩或者解決咧中環碼頭嗰個交通擠塞問題。咁所以如果站喺嗰個填海用地嗰個必要性嚟講咧，就清拆呢個碼頭係嗰個現實同埋個必須嘅問題嚟嘅。
I think the government actually made a good decisions about removing a pier.
No.
Can you tell us why?
Because I don't think they, from what I've seen living here, they are not interested in heritage and in the past. Everything's new and in the future, which is good for a building city, but I think we need to appreciate the past as well. And I don't think the government listened to the people.
因為我哋都每一日都如果喺中環需要翻工嘅話咧，每一日都經歷咧喺中環咧塞車嗰個困擾啦，咁亦都係存在咗好耐嘅問題，而必須要解決呢個問題咧，就係現時唯一嘅方法就係興建嗰個中環灣仔嗰條繞道，而興建呢條繞道咧係必須係收翻即係舊有中環碼頭嗰個填海用地，亦都咧有必須咧就係有部分嘅填海啦，咁咧要興建呢個咁繞道。咁所以如果係站喺長遠利益，香港要解決中環呢一個塞車嘅問題嘅話咧，要興建呢條道路咧，就必須喺嗰個地段裏邊咧就作出一個適當嘅填海。咁清拆個碼頭亦都係嗰個現實，一定係必須。
According to the Secretary of Housing, Planning and Lands, Michael Soon Ming Young, said the government will consider reconstruction of the Star Ferry clock tower somewhere along the central waterfront. Mr. Soon also said the government had conducted public consultations over the future of the Star Ferry Pier, and the decision to demolish it had gone through due process. Mr. Soon's deputy, Robert Ip Man Phai, told the panel the clock tower would be demolished in early December and the entire pier would be gone by the first quarter of 2007. After the pier had been relocated and demolished, many began to feel that the new pier would benefit Hong Kong in the long run. The redevelopment of the old pier area is currently planned to include a harborfront promenade for leisure and a 6-lane highway that will divert traffic and solve traffic problems in Central. The improved facilities of the new pier, the future convenience in travel, and the promenade are all factors that will improve the city. Although the removal of the pier marked a great loss in the city's cultural history and the demolition of one of Hong Kong's largest landmark icons, we should, as Hong Kong citizens, look to the future and the convenience that the redevelopment will bring. The people of Hong Kong may have physically lost a sentimentally valued structure, but memories of the Edinburgh Place Ferry Pier will last forever in the hearts of Hong Kong citizens everywhere.